my screen. Hmm, okay. Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Anachari Yamuna Tira Anachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat. Okay, Hare Krishna everybody, here we are at the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.8.6. Samriddha kamohino va Narayana paro munihi Notsarpeta nashusheta Sardidbhir eva sagaraha. Synonyms: Samriddha, flourishing; Kamaha, material opulence; Hina, destitute; Va, or; Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead; Para, accepting as supreme; Muni, a saintly devotee; Na, does not; Utsarpeta, swell up; Na, does not; Sushyeta, dry up; Saridbhi, by the rivers; Eva, like; Sagaraha, the ocean. Translation: during the rainy season, the swollen rivers rush into the ocean, and during the dry summer, the rivers, now shallow, severely reduce their supply of water. Yet the ocean does not swell up during the rainy season, nor does it dry up in the hot summer. In the same way, a saintly devotee who has accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the goal of his life sometimes will receive by providence great material opulence, and sometimes he will find himself materially destitute. However, such a devotee of the Lord does not rejoice in a flourishing condition, nor is he morose when poverty-stricken. Nanda Bihari and I were just talking about this verse, I think, yesterday. It's really cool. I'll take it as a personal instruction. Okay. Purport. A sincere devotee of the Lord is always eager to meet the Lord and render him transcendental service. He wants to remain fixed as an atom at the lotus feet of the Lord, because Lord Krishna, or Narayan, is a reservoir of all pleasure. He rejoices when experiencing pure Krishna consciousness and is morose when Krishna is not present in his mind. In his dealings with the material world, a devotee cannot be disturbed by ordinary materialistic people who sometimes insult him and accuse him of neglecting material sense gratification, just as the ocean cannot be disturbed by the innumerable rivers that enter into it. Sometimes lusty women approach a pure devotee, and sometimes speculative philosophers try to argue against the personality of Godhead. But with all such ordinary people, a pure devotee is detached and undisturbed in his blissful Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Tirmanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So, an ecstatic, beautiful verse. We're reading about how the devotee who has a taste for Krishna consciousness is not disturbed by anything, ultimately, except for when Krishna is not present in his life. There's a beautiful verse in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparshas tu Kunteya Satoshna Sukadukada Agama Paino Nityastam Sutikshashva Bharata, where Krishna says that somebody who's a pure devotee is not disturbed by the transient nature of the material world, where sometimes there's great abundance, sometimes it's very easy, sometimes it's pleasant and warm, and other times it's freezing, it's cold, it's dangerous. There are factors at play that will make any ordinary person feel scared and disturbed. But the devotee could see that actually this is all transient, that nothing is actually as it seems on the surface level. That at the core, everything's always going to be okay. Because as spirit souls, we're not actually coming into contact with the material world to begin with. So that's why we see in different places in the Bhagavatam, like when the Shringadev meets Hiranyakashipu, and in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, there's this astonishment that they feel towards them, saying, how is it that these misconceptions have come upon you? How is it that you, who's a pure spirit soul, who never even really contacts the material world, have come under the sway of the material nature to the point where you have lost yourself, you have lost your knowledge of your identity, of who you are? Because in reality, we are who we always have been, which is a pure spirit soul that's not withered by the wind, that's not burned by fire, it's not cut by a sword. We are completely transcendental to the material world. So for someone who's become self-realized, as is being described here, the only thing that really disturbs them is when they feel they've been separated from Krishna for one reason or another. I forget who it is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Might be Srivas Thakur, or I think it was somebody else. If anybody knows him, feel free to jump in. But there's this little excerpt there where he says that if Krishna does not give me his mercy, I think it is Srivas Thakur, then I'll go and jump in the Ganges. And I'll go end my life, practically. And this is the only real pain that's there. Ramananda Roy, when he's speaking to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya asks him about pain, Ramananda Roy says, I know no other pain. I know no pain other than separation from the Lord's devotees. Why? Because this is what gives us an understanding of who we actually are. As soon as we disconnect ourselves from the association of devotees, it means we are reconnecting with the association of Maya in the material world. Because we are social by nature, we need interaction. Because Krishna created us for the sake of exchange, if we're not exchanging with the devotees, then we have to be exchanging with Maya, with material nature. And that leads to all of these different misconceptions about who we are. As Prabhupada describes, we begin to imagine injustices around us instead of seeing everything as as Krishna's arrangement for us, tate nukampam. We start seeing everything as working against us, as unfair. This person wronged me. That person is mistreating me. In reality, for someone who understands their actual nature and the nature of the material world, they see that there is nothing at play other than Krishna. We were created for the sake of exchanging with Krishna, and regardless of our misconceptions or where we are at in the material world, or even how Krishna conscious we are, that never actually stops. We never actually stop exchanging with Krishna. It's just a matter of our consciousness and if we're perceiving it or not. So, our main concern should be to stay in the association of devotees. If we can keep that association, then we can keep ourselves sane. And if we give up that association, then we're on our own practically. Of course, Krishna is always with us in the heart, but we have that choice whether we want to be enlightened or we want to be illusioned. And the way to be enlightened is to associate with pure devotees. In the Nectar of Instruction, that, along with some other key components, are described for anybody who actually wants to attain enlightenment, where is described utsahan nischayadharyat tatta karma pravartina sangatyagat satovrate sadbir bhakti prasidyati. That if one wants to come out of this hot and cold illusory existence, where one is always disturbed and forgetful of their actual blissful nature, then one can adopt a few very important things into their life. Utsaha nischaya dharya means that one should be enthusiastic, they should be confident that Krishna will deliver them and that the process works, and they should be patient. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be thinking that just because they're not seeing immediate results, that they're not automatically detached from all the things that they had been attached to before starting Krishna consciousness, that the process isn't working. Utsaha nischayad dharyat tatta karma pravartina, meaning they should follow the path of the pure devotees, the path that's laid down before them. This is the purpose of the Acharya. This is the purpose of the Guru, that they themselves show what it means to be a pure devotee, to live a life that is both materially practical and also spiritually um, progressive, where we could identify the underpinnings to their lifestyle. What are the things that they have given the most emphasis to? And we can adopt those same things. We may not be able to chant 64 rounds like Haridas Thakur, but we can take his example as making his japa the main thing in his life and putting nothing else above his japa, and in that way become advanced. You could imagine what it would be like if we were to make japa the main thing in our lives. Haridas Thakur wouldn't eat anything until he finished all of his rounds. And so we may not necessarily be able to follow even that. But if we look at our life and we see what am I putting before my japa in terms of importance, then we can make some adjustments and say, okay, no matter what, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to find some time throughout the day where I can sit down and chant 4 rounds of intensely focused japa, where I'm giving my utmost to hear the holy name properly and chant it with feeling and sincerity, or 6 rounds or 8 rounds or whatever we're capable of. So that is tat tat karma pravartana. We can follow in the path of these great Mahajans. We could be sincere, a little honest, and see how can I apply the principles that they made their life into my life according to my current adhikari and situation. And now we get to the part where it's that this verse is kind of alluding to more directly. Sangatyagat satovrite, sadbir bhakti prasidyati. So sangatyagat, meaning we're giving up the association of non-devotees. We're giving up the association of anyone and anything that's going to take us further away from Krishna. The only way we could actually hope to give up our conditioning is to give up the association of those who are similarly conditioned. Association doesn't mean that we no longer go to work or we stop talking to our family altogether, but it means that we distinguish between people who are devoted to God, who are making God the main thing in their life, and those who are not. And we associate with those who are in a specific way, in a way in which we're giving our heart to them, which we are having loving exchanges. Earlier in that Upadeshamrita, we hear about how to have loving exchanges with devotees, giving gifts, receiving gifts, giving prasadam, receiving prasadam in return, revealing one's mind in confidence, and hearing confidentially from someone. We have these relationships with devotees that are intimate, where we find devotees who we feel we can trust, who we jive with, who are of our same camp, and we give our heart to them. We give our heart to them, we trust them, and we have loving exchanges with them. That loving exchange with the devotees, it satisfies the soul in such a way that we no longer feel that we need that to search for that experience elsewhere. We can feel satisfied in those loving exchanges with the devotees, and those loving exchanges form a sort of bridge towards the loving exchanges that we'll ultimately come to have with Krishna in a very deep and intimate and powerful way. So, by having those relationships with devotees, then we no longer feel affected as much by non-devotees. Why? Because we don't feel a sense of need that we need to get that juice from them or from the material world in general. And for that reason, as is being described here in the purport, we no longer are affected by them. We're no longer affected by them. We're no longer affected by the material world and its constant flux of either feast or famine. But we feel steady in ourselves. We feel ecstatic in the association of devotees. We feel satisfied in their association and in our association with Krishna. And as a result, anything else that happens is sort of transient. The hallmark example of this, one of my favorite examples, is that of Jad Bharat, who had lived his life as a king, as Bharat Maharaj, where he was a perfect king. He was the primary son of Rishabdev, who was a Shaktavesh avatar of Krishna. He received direct instruction practically from Krishna through Lord Rishabdev, and by all accounts was living his life in accordance with those instructions. He was a perfect king in which he gave bountifully to his citizens. He was just like a loving father to them, while at the same time maintaining such a complete order. He carried out his dharma perfectly. Towards the end of his life, he went to the forest and he was practicing Krishna consciousness on a very high level. It's described that he was meditating in the forest on Krishna and had attained the level of bhav, where just by meditating on Krishna, tears were flowing from his eyes. He was feeling communion with Krishna. The coverings of the material world had subsided to such a degree that he was able to experience reality, experience his real nature, which is as an ecstatic, loving servant of Krishna. So he's in the forest, completely detached from family life and completely absorbed in his relationship with Krishna. But somehow or other, a baby deer appeared before him, and out of the softness of his heart, he felt impelled to take care of this deer who had been recently orphaned by its mother. And so he began taking care of it, and slowly, slowly, his determination, his absorption in Krishna started fading away and being replaced by something that was not conducive to his spiritual life, by something that was a manifestation of the transient material world that had been sent to him as a test, and his focus waned. So as a result, he died thinking about the baby deer and had to take birth in a deer body. But because of the incredible amount of devotion that he had expressed in his previous lifetime, Krishna took care of him. This is what is described as the meaning of the verse where it says that I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. It doesn't mean that we'll never lose, our house perhaps, or that our bank balance will always be the same. It means that even if we fall into some mire of material illusion, Krishna will never forget about us. Because we have once said with sincerity, Krishna, I'm yours. Krishna takes that and he forgets the rest. So even if we forget Krishna, Krishna will never forget us. So even we go into the body of a deer, because of the devotional service we've performed in a past life, because of the sincere service we've rendered to those Mahatmas, those great souls, Krishna uh, takes care of us. He carries what we may sometimes come to lack. And so Bharat Maharaj found himself in this body of a deer, but he was fully cognizant of his previous life. And so as a result, he was uninterested in any kind of deer activities. I guess he wasn't, prancing around as much, and he was actually doing yoga in the forest. You could imagine that. And he took his next birth as Jad Bharat, where he was completely detached from the entire material world. Similar story to Shukadev Goswami, who basically, after coming out of the womb, wanted absolutely nothing to do with any kind of purificatory processes. He didn't care that he was born in a Brahmin family and that he had these responsibilities and that he was respected by society. He wanted nothing to do with that. He said, "This is all distraction. All I want to do is develop my relationship with Krishna undisturbed." And so, as a result of that desire, as a result of that realization that he had cultivated over the past few lifetimes, then he was completely undisturbed by the elements around him. It's described that once he left home, he was traveling around and would be ridiculed by the people in general. People hated him. They made fun of him. They threw nasty things at him. But he was peaceful, ecstatic within. He could see that everything that was happening around him was simply transient, that there was no real crux to it. That it was simply coming and going. Sometimes there was praise, maybe sometimes there was ridicule, but it was all manifesting as a result of the material modes of nature. There was no real grounding to it. Because he had that love for Krishna, because he was experiencing reality, which is a constant, he was completely undisturbed. He was never disturbed by any kind of materialistic person who insulted him, who neglected him, because he was ecstatic within. He was like the ocean. And then it comes to the point he's walking in the forest, and some ruffians kind of identify him as somebody who is worthy of being sacrificed. They see him as somebody who isn't really contributing to society, and so they decide they want to sacrifice him to Kali. But when they attempt to do that, then Kali herself jumps out of her own deity and puts an end to that. We don't have to get into the exact details, but Krishna protected his devotee through the agent of Kali, so that he could go on with his service for the time being. And then finally, in a grand finale, he is walking through the forest and again is assailed by some less intelligent, sort of ignorant people who drag him into a service of carrying the palanquin of the king at the time. And out of his love for Krishna and the resultant love that he has for all living beings, as he's walking, he's avoiding stepping on any ants. And that's a very telling moment for me because it speaks to the fact that when somebody is on this level where they're undisturbed by any kind of thing that's happening in the material world, it's not because of callousness, it's because of love for Krishna. It's not that they are callous or insensitive, but it's that they're so sensitive to their relationship with Krishna that they don't want to do anything to mess that up. Prabhupada says that somebody who's an advanced devotee has a healthy fear of losing their relationship with Krishna, of doing something that will mess up the sweetness that they've cultivated in their relationship with Krishna. And so as a result, they're extraordinarily careful in the way that they deal with the world. And because Krishna says that one who's most dear to him is a kind friend to all living entities, they're very careful not to offend other living entities, even ants. And so, as a result of this love for Krishna that that, that Jud Bharat had cultivated, he was being very careful not to step on any ants. But in the course of that activity, the king's palanquin was shaking, the king became disturbed, and Jud Bharat was chastised in a very severe way. And then finally, at the end of that story, he reveals his nature as a Mahatma, as a purely self-realized devotee. And he instructs the king as to how he too can become a pure devotee of the Lord, how he can become completely free from the disturbances caused by this matra sparshas, by the coming and going of the winter and summer of the material world. So that is our goal, to become like this. On a practical level, we could see how when we have a strong sadhana in the morning, even if it's small, we all have different obligations and duties. As long as we have something that we stick to every morning that is nourishing us, hearing and chanting, chanting deeply, hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing from the CC, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever it might be, chanting a chapter of Gita a day, whatever it is, if we have a a point in the morning where we could really zero in on our sadhana, then we could see how it affects us throughout the day. And if we chain together a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years of really power-packed morning practice, then we'll see how we gradually become more and more detached from the comings and goings of the material world. And we'll see how gradually, we develop more and more of a concern with our relationship with Krishna. And instead of the things of the material world that are constantly coming and going that we're generally concerned with, being the things that dictate our mood and our thoughts and our actions, it becomes our relationship with Krishna that is that dictating factor. More and more we gain a taste for that relationship, and as a result we become more and more detached from anything that's happening in the material world. Tannama rupa charitari sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasana manasini ojatishtam braje Taranuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayera Kilamityupadesha Saram. Rupa Goswami describes that gradually, by this steady practice of devotional service, the covering of the tongue that's preventing us from tasting the sweetness of that relationship, of that exchange with Krishna, is removed. And we gain more and more of a taste for that sweetness. And it's described there very sweetly that eventually it comes to the point where we're essentially no longer even living in the material world, but we are living in Braj. He says, in this way, by this steady practice, one should live in Vrindavan. One actually comes to live in Vrindavan in their mind. Lord Chaitanya says, my mind is Vrindavan, right? My mind is that place which is always pining for Krishna, always wanting more and more Krishna. Krishna is residing in my mind. My mind is Vrindavan. So it's described that by that steady practice, if we do so sincerely, in a deep way, and we avoid offenses, then gradually, our mind too becomes Vrindavan. We come to live in Vrindavan. Braje, Taranuragi Jananugami. And then we're not so much affected by the material world anymore. Not that we become callous to it, or that we become insensitive to those around us or the situations that we need to deal with to maintain body, mind, and soul and to take care of our families and so forth. But we see everything with premanjana, with the eyes tinted with the salve of love for Krishna. And so as a result, everything takes on a very different hue. And we see everything as coming to us from Krishna for the sake of developing our love for him and as service opportunities where we can deepen our relationship with him more and more and more. So that's the goal that we're working towards. And we shouldn't be discouraged if in the moment we feel temporarily enamored or affected by the material world in some way. Because if you think about it, the way in which we're affected now as devotees who are in practice is very different, much less severe in the way that we would have been affected had we not been devotees. And there's a beautiful, funny little story that Guru Kripa Prabhu tells. Guru Kripa, famous, legendary devotee who collected hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for Prabhupada, and specifically for the Krishna Balaram Mandir. His name is engraved in a massive plaque right when you walk in to that mandir in Vrindavan. He tells a story how he was going around making life members, which at that time meant going door to door, going to different dignitaries' homes or wealthy people's homes or just regular, Westerners and so forth, regular people. And he would go and try to get them to give a large donation for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. And in turn, they would receive a lifetime supply of Srila Prabhupada's books. So it's described he was about one of these offices, and it was in India, some kind of successful Indian businessman, and he was saying he was explaining to him, about becoming a life member, about the Krishna consciousness movement and what they're doing, and the Indian man was a little bit proud and was challenging Guru Kripa and was saying all these different things, challenging him and kind of saying things to like purposely rile him up. And Guru Kripa was a sort of rough and tumble type of guy. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he's known for that kind of personality of being maybe a little bit running a little hot, you could say, for the service of Prabhupada, of course. But in any case, he was getting a little bit um, annoyed, a little frustrated with this Indian gentleman who was kind of purposely trying to set him off, trying to get under his skin. And it kind of showed that he was getting a little frustrated with him, a little angry. And then the Indian gentleman said, "See, what is this? What has this movement really done for you? You're still getting angry at me." And Guru Kripa said, "Well, before I was a devotee, I would have punched you in the face by now. But because I am a devotee, I'm gonna work this out with words." So, in the same way, we may sometimes feel that, I'm no Jat Bharat, I'm no Radhanath Swami, I'm no Sachinandana Swami, so I'm still getting disturbed, from time to time. But we could see how it's so much less than it would have been had we not become devotees, become Krishna conscious. And because there's that inkling, because there's that underpinning of understanding that actually Krishna is behind everything, it allows us to take a step out of that mire of materialistic thought and materialistic reactions to the comings and goings and changes and disturbances of the material world and see that actually it's Krishna's hand. And at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for me to surrender to him more and more and develop my loving relationship with him more and more. So it's 7:52. We have about 8 minutes or so. We'd love to hear from you guys if you have any thoughts or reflections, questions, corrections. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Anupam. Thank you so much for a great class. I didn't hear much of your lecture, but you're fantastic. I like how you point out uh, how the sincere devotee of the Lord lives untouched by Maya of the world and just seeking God regardless. Kind of was point that I lost something yesterday, like valuable to me, and you were speaking like almost on personal level. But yeah, it's like we see that things come and go, and that if we don't get attached to those things but seek God, then it's very beautiful. You could lose a mention, but if you're seeking God and Krishna, then that's you're still not going to be disturbed seeking the relationships and connections instead
Mm.
of. So thank you, appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. And again, it's such a sweet thing, too, that we become enamored by Krishna. We fall in love with Krishna so much that everything else just kind of fades away, or at least loses its importance. Just like somebody who's in love with somebody, everything else around them becomes fuzzy, you know. It loses its importance. Or
Yes.
somebody on the converse side who maybe is addicted to something, addicted to drugs or alcohol, they give up everything else. Nothing else is really as important to them. And so they just fixate on that one thing. And they could be sleeping in the street and could lose, all their wealth, lose their family, but because of their fixation on alcohol or drugs or whatever it might be, they're not so much concerned with it in that moment. So it's a matter of absorption. When we absorb ourselves in Krishna, then everything else becomes less important, and not in a neglectful way, but in a way we're not as disturbed by circumstances. Nityananda Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
And so you're glorifying Vrindavan. And so I was just reading a nice glorification about Vrindavan. This is from the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. So it says, Taddhamagati hina ye tasyam mai parayanaha kalina grasita ye vai tesham tasyam avashtiti. Even those who are without any direction in these religious principles and are swallowed up by the argumentative character of this age may still reside in Mathura if they're devoted to me. And then the commentary says, here the zenith of Mathura's glories is revealed. It overflows with benevolence. It is the supreme among holy places because the residence there is not limited to just pious souls. Prabodhananda Sarasvati cites the Adi Varaha Purana in this regard. Yesham kwapi katir nasti tesham madhupuri gati. Those who have no other refuge can find shelter in Mathura. Hare Krishna.
That's beautiful, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing. I really like that. Those who find no other shelter anywhere else can find shelter there. It makes a lot of sense on a logical, philosophical level too, because that's our real home is Vrindavan. So thank you, Prabhu. Bhima Prabhu, please.
Haribo Prabhu, what a wonderful subject, and what a nice way that you've condensed it down into just, simplifying our hearts to love Krishna and love what he has to offer us. And that what the amazing thing is that this offering is right here and now, and it's only up to us to take it, to get involved, to absorb ourselves. Like it's not Vrindavan comes after we die. It's that we can. Oh, hold on for a second. I gotta turn this off. Okay. We have to learn that, like, there's a poet who said, the lost lane and path to heaven. There's a way to heaven. Heaven meaning, of course, in the Christian sense, Krishna Loka. Um, where I was very lucky growing up as a child that I got to run in fields with cows and bulls and woods with my friends for the first 9 years of my life. So, when I um, happenstanced upon Radhanath Swami and he introduced me to the Bhagavatam, and there was a 10th canto or Krishna book um, in the temple, in the little cottage that was a temple at Ohio University. I looked through it and I said, why, of course? Why, of course? I want to go home, and this
Mm.
is what I remember home being. And we should all, like, just, Christ says, become like ye unto a child, become like childlike, not childish, childlike, and all this stuff will be revealed to you. And it's such a sweet thing. And I'll make this really quick. I go across the street from where my office is, and there's St. Anne's Monastery or nunnery. And they have some very beautiful grounds. And of course, they also have statues or icons of Christ and Mother Mary and stuff like that. So it's a very peaceful pastoral setting. And then of course to come back here and then hear this class, it's such a relief to the heart and the soul to know that this shelter is before us at all times and may appear in different ways, like the peace of this abbey that is across the road from me. That we should always be seeking that peace, and it doesn't necessarily mean in conventional, uh, you know, uh, conventional or cultural ways. That peace is present even in our jobs and in our everyday lives. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's a great point, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, ultimately that piece is within. We can't escape it. It's just a matter of tuning in, for sure, to the frequency.
Like also like what you said that we have to make our mind a Brindavan, like make our mind steady, not only live like just in general, but live it like make our mind pure,
Yes.
steady.
Yes. You do that by carrying out the order of the spiritual master, accepting a spiritual master and making his what he asks you to do your whole mission in life. Make that the focal point. I remember my Guru Maharaj, he moved when they were discussing where to move when he was my age, 30, 31, that when he had become a Grihasta. They decided to move to a house that was right next to the airport because he was distributing books there every day. So it was what's best for his service. And if we make that the modus operandi of our lives, whatever I do, it's based around what my spiritual master wants me to do, then we'll see how Krishna takes care of us as a result, materially and especially spiritually. Gopakumar went back to Goloka Vrindavan by carrying out the instruction of his guru who asked him to chant a specific mantra. And by chanting it with sincerity and faith and consistency, then he attained absolute complete perfection. So we can follow in his footsteps and in that way walk on up to Goloka Vrindavan.
Thank you.
Is it unmuted? Yeah, so they can hear the content.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Meru. Anupam Prabhu, I have a question. Um, you made so much emphasis on this inner bhajan in the morning, on this quality chanting with Krishna, intimate time. It says in the Shastra that the Yuga Dharma for this day and age is the collective chanting of the holy name. And where does this individual bhajan, where does it fit into our sadhana, given considering that the Yuga Dharma is collective chanting loudly in the group?
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like it's both are emphasized. Um, Lord Chaitanya did both. He had his mala that he would chant, or he would chant on his fingers, especially in the Gambhira. And he also went out and chanted with the devotees. So I'd say they're kind of like rice and dal. They help each other out. You could see how when you do go on Sankirtan and you're sharing the holy name with other devotees too, then it improves your personal japa and your personal bhajan. And when you have a strong personal bhajan japa, then you feel more of an inclination and more inspiration to go out and do Sankirtan. So I think the two complement each other. And yeah, that's just what the previous acharyas did as well, whether it's Haridas Thakur or Prabhupada and the Goswamis, Bhaktisiddhanta, they, Bhakti Vinod, they all had their private bhajan and then they had their preaching bhajan, sharing bhajan with others. But if Adi Prabhu wants to say something,
It's like Madan Gopal Prabhu, he shared yesterday how we're bhajan and Andis that preach, that go out and preach. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, Adi Purusha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, praying to Srila Prabhupada what to say. Perfect class, wonderful. Two comments briefly. You touched on both these subjects already. One is the idea of being detached. You spoke that matra sparshas to kantena, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, heat and cold, fame and infamy. They come and go like the winter and summer season. And the verse says, one must tolerate them without being disturbed. And it's not that we don't sense the heat and the cold or the criticism or the fame but what's not disturbed is, Srila Prabhupada tells us, our service. No matter what happens, we have this relationship with spiritual master, we have a prescribed duty, and we endeavor to do our humble best, no matter what externally happens. And it says that thing just like the sun going across the sky makes the shadow of the Bodhi tree pass across the dusty courtyard. That's just like a sundial, the shadow. But the shadow doesn't get dusty. We're untouched because we have another dimension of focus. So that's one point, to be not just detached, but attached to devotional service. And the other thing is, you mentioned about the association. We're avoiding the association of those who are not fixed, dedicated, faithful, engaging in devotional service. So we avoid that association, but we don't go hide ourselves in the closet. We're actually going out and interacting and giving our association rather than taking their association. So that's an interesting. Of course, you mentioned all these things, but we're not just um, withdrawing, but we're being careful not to get influenced in the wrong direction. Anyway, just two small comments. I already talked so long. I'll go to Srila Prabhupada.
thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, it's great to see a living example of all that and yourself.
Glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you. Madan Gopal Prabhu is here. Madan Gopal Prabhu, would you like to speak? We benefited greatly from your class yesterday. There's always room for more.
Hare Krishna. No, thank you very much. I just came here to listen to the beautiful class. I didn't catch most of it because I came a little late, but I came for the afterglow to see. And yes, I think that point in Open Prabhu about that morning program, that's really the strength of our whole process. That's obviously why Prabhupada emphasized on that morning program so much attendance, in that it does multiple things for us if we do a good quality morning program. When I say good quality, means it's an internal heartfelt thing. One thing is that it nourishes us because the soul needs a constant ananda, actually. And if we fill our hearts with that in the morning, then we'll not seek it elsewhere. It's like having a good breakfast in the morning, then you don't raid the vending machines of the world. Secondly, it also protects us, like putting on an armor, because when we go out there, the moment we step out onto the street, the arrows coming from all directions from the illusory energy toward us. With the armor, gives us confidence. So we are protected and nourished both with the good morning program. So that's very important. And when I say program, we're talking about deep internal personal connection with Krishna, meeting him personally in that appointment and facing him and opening up to him and connecting with him. And that's what a good quality japa session is about. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
That's a great point, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yeah, the main point is that Krishna is available. And if we choose to make that conscious connection with him, then what else do we need throughout the day? We'll be completely satisfied. It's just a matter of tuning in to that frequency in the morning. Okay, I think Sadhvi was next.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for today. I have read about different places that is named a different energy on it. For instance, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Okay, and for instance, in according to that description, I got my Bhagavad Gita in the place where it was full of mode of ignorance. This street, where I got led to take this Bhagavad Gita, I avoided full on many years. But just that day, I was forced to go to that street. So what I want to ask is it possible that even our mindset to the certain extent will be controlled or yes, controlled and sanctioned by Krishna? So that, for instance, as I'm saying, I avoid this street very much in many years. I'm not going to mention, say why, because I don't like it. Anyway, I avoid it. But still, this day, I really couldn't avoid it. I couldn't resist it. It was impossible because the voice told me, you have to go there. There was a hand-me-down bookstore, very old, which disappeared after 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, there was no any store there anymore. I don't know why, what happened, but there was no store anymore. The store was there, but it was empty. You understand? So I wonder, could that be a kind of sanction or control by Krishna also? Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of Krishna. Bhoktaram Yogatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He's he is the controller of the material worlds and Bhogaishwarya Prasakt. He's the supreme enjoyer as well. So everything is moving according to his will and desire. And because he wants everybody ultimately to come back to him, he as a super soul act in certain ways to orchestrate that. It's a beautiful symphony. So he'll put things in place and move things away and make things disappear for the sake of bringing the conditioned souls back towards him. So yeah, of course, Krishna, everybody is ultimately being controlled by Krishna in either a subtle or gross way. Within that, there's still the realm of free will, but at the end of the day, everything is being orchestrated perfectly by Krishna so that, or by Krishna's energy, so that things fall into place according to people's karma and according to what they need to experience so that they can ultimately come back to him. So yes, yeah, that's the point of Super Soul. It's not that Krishna is just, hanging around watching TV in our heart. He's actually active and helping us come back to him, for sure.
Thank you very much. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Sadhvi. Bhima Prabhu, something else?
Actually was pondering whether I should even speak up, but somehow I got an image that, if you've ever played pinball before, so the ball is the jiva, is us, right? And the material world is the pinball machine, and the flippers that send you back, slamming into different challenges and slamming into different temptations and slamming into different responsibilities, but ultimately you're slanted towards freedom. It's just this natural pull that Krishna has upon us, no matter how far away we might be, or if we've gotten ourselves jammed up, that ultimately Krishna is constantly pulling on us, pulling us home. And it's actually an easier thing, like chanting, dancing, and feasting. I mean, for real. If you just, I was reflecting upon the fact that we were talking about a strong morning program, how important it is. And I was like, yeah, I got to get a strong morning program done. But then a little whisper in my head says, it's exactly why you're here in this Bhagavatam class. And it doesn't require any like discipline. It's like it's like we want to be here because we know this is healthy for us. It's a healthy way to start the day, spiritually speaking, a strong way to start the day. And so that we've been given all these facilities, and all these facilities are actually, in the end, a good time. So we just have to remind ourselves that Krishna doesn't want us to, jam the holy name into our head. Prabhupada said the mantra is not an artificial imposition on the mind. Okay, so that's why it's very important for us to realize why we're chanting the holy name, and not just to do it as some sort of palliative, that this is actually not a ritual, but a relationship. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Anupam Prabhu. Thank you, dear audience, for participating. It was so natural. There was nothing artificial about today's class. It's so easy to follow. Anupam Prabhu, thank you so much for connecting us with Shastra, with Lord Chaitanya, for your personal testimonies. Very inspiring. Thank you. Sundar Radha, Karen, please line up the junior chanters.
Ananda Bihari, did you see that William was back?
I was gonna
Welcome back,
say,
William.
yes. Hi, William.
Howdy
So nice to
Bo,
see
dude.
you.
Howdy.
All right, Annabelle, I say, you ready, Sky? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai, junior
Thank
chanter.
you very
Notice,
much for
notice with
today.
the kids, it's ever fresh. Like every day it's different.
Yeah, that's the sense of wonder that we should learn from them. Jai, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much for today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, William, Cheska, and Pepito.
Thank you.
Happy Friday, dear devotees. Come tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, thank you very much.